Dear participants of the conference, we would like to present you the results of our research, and our topic is called Advantages and Disadvantages of Distance Learning Platforms in Law Enforcement Educational Institutions in a Pandemic. Humanity is experiencing a large-scale crisis of current generation due to the contagiousness of coronavirus, which is constantly growing due to a mutation in coronavirus infection. Decisions which could usually be preceded by years of discussion are now made in a matter of hours. A number of countries today are participating in a large-scale socio-economic, medical, and educational experiments. Traditionally, hardly anyone would dare to do such experiments. Now, the situation is completely different. One of such experiments is to bring the education system online. We are talking about distance learning. Despite its relevance in recent decades, the transition to an online education system has caused a number of problems. In different countries, they have their own specific character, but they are also largely common. Unequal conditions of consumer access to educational resources, insufficient level of media literacy of scientific and pedagogical staff, and so on. Relevant government organizations are constantly working to address these issues, but we are talking about the tactical level at this stage. In postmodern era, the fundamentals of the human soul also fluctuated and testified to the complex and contradictory processes of reassessment of the axiological reorientation of modern man. Eternal questions need to be rethought. What, how much, how, and for what to teach. The effective solution of this problem is facilitated by distance learning, which is organized and implemented on the basis of modern pedagogical, information, computer, and telecommunications technologies. Distance learning is widely implemented abroad, in particular in European countries, the United States, Japan, Australia, China, etc. But the platforms and technologies of distance learning in these countries differ. Distance learning is carried out on the basis of platform or technology. I mean a set of techniques used in the organization of training of future professionals at any time and at any place, covering such components as goals, principles of implementation, content and methods of training, organizational forms, means of training. The use of online campus in the United States in bodyguard training system allows the United States Federal Law Enforcement Training Center to significantly expand cadets' audience and to strengthen international ties. Particular attention is paid to the topical issues of training on such online training modules of the campus as crime scene, driving training, drugs, firearms, health, interviews, investigation, law, topography, maritime training, personal security, and so on. The peculiarities of professional training of bodyguards using distance learning platforms in Asian countries and universities in Australia and Taiwan are similar and based on the internet platform of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. The specifics of professional training of bodyguards in Asian countries in the conditions of distance learning is the use of platforms in higher educational law enforcement agencies and international organizations. The People's Republic of China systematically and purposefully implements the border guards distance learning in universities based on the MOOC platform, which contains a virtual room for communications between subjects, profiles of the best cadets and their achievements, online theater, etc. As for the European Union experience, in January 2019, Bohdan Khmelnytskyi National Academy of the State Border Guard Service of Ukraine received associate membership in the network of Frontex Partnership Academies and became the 40th partner academy. The peculiarities of the professional training of border guards of European countries, I mean Lithuania, Poland, Hungary, are that not only the platforms of individual universities are widely used, but also joint platforms of international organizations. In addition, agreements on cooperation in the field of teaching have been concluded between the Lithuanian border, customs and police services, holding joint meetings and seminars of teachers, constant exchange of materials, conducting joint classes for students of different services. The qualification requirements of the concept for officials include the correspondence of the level of foreign language proficiency to the scope of performance of official functions. For example, a border guard serving in the primary positions must have a basic level of A1. To advance in his career, he needs to have a level of A2. Senior officials, level B1. These levels are determined in accordance with European guidelines for the study, language teaching, and assessment. It is efficient and convenient to use Neptune system of electronic document management in border universities of Hungary. In higher education, special attention is paid to capabilities of distance learning platforms which are widely used in the training of border guards, namely web platform, virtual aula of agents of Frontex, CPOL in-net web platform, ILIAS, European Union Mission EU-BAM platform, Connect and Learn, United Nations for High Commissioner for Refugee platforms, and others. The main purpose of the virtual aula platform is to provide specialists involved in the training of border guards, I mean teachers, instructors, trainers, external training experts with up-to-date information on educational programs conducted in Europe. The distance learning CPOL in-net platform is an online platform through which registered users can use a wide range of information and training resources in the field of law enforcement, such as training courses, seminars, webinars, online modules, and scientific journals. In addition, the educational web platform ILIAS of the European Union Mission EU-BAM is widely used. EU-BAM's task is to promote cross-border cooperation between the border and customs authorities of Moldova and Ukraine in order to organize effective non-formal and informal training of border guards of Ukraine and Moldova. It was decided to develop and launch professional thematic trainings on the basis of ILIAS web platform. Officially, now the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee Education and Planning platform is implemented, and main teaching aids are seminars, refresher courses, blended learning courses, and self-study software. The distance learning implementation in the State Border Guard Service of Ukraine is regulated by Order number 882, and it means that, in other words, each border guard using the computer at the workplace will have access to educational resources of State Border Guard Service of Ukraine and can be enrolled to distance learning courses of different fields of operational and service activity, or be required to take tests. It supplements full-time part training, and furthermore, it provides vocational training of the personnel, career development during service. It will also improve the mobility of education and will provide preserving and renewal of knowledge base accumulated in the educational system of our service. Considering the expansion of international relations and cooperation in the context of fight against transnational, transborder crime and terrorism, English acquires the status of lingua franca. In view of this, one of these requirements for current training of staff is to increase the level of foreign language communicative competence. For the foreign language community professional training, teachers, coordinators were appointed in our service to ensure the organization and conduct the educational process, consultative work, development of teaching materials for English language courses, prepared and posted on our platform. As for the English language distance learning course, for the foreign language training of State Bohdan Service of Ukraine personnel, we developed it and it lasts for 6 months. Topics and stages of English language distance learning course are revealed according to the separate modules. The intended purpose of this course is to provide the personnel with certain linguistic skills necessary to perform their daily tasks during implementation of the border control procedures, namely document check, interviewing, and communication in English. Distance learning course includes 3 modules. The first module comprises such unit as revision course, which has 11 lessons. The second module includes unit International Organizations of the World, which comprises 5 lessons. And the third module includes such unit as passport control, which comprises 7 lessons. Activities of each lesson provide gradual covering of the thematic learning material that foresee the study of professionally oriented vocabulary, common word combinations used in various service situations, listening to audio materials, reading thematic text, doing practicing exercises on the text, viewing video episode, and carrying out exercises to reinforce the materials learned. Result of this course, development and analysis allowed to reach the conclusion on the necessity and effectiveness of its implementation and practical usage for acquiring language skills by the personnel of the State's Bodyguard Service of Ukraine. The law enforcement educational institutions in Ukraine has created also a central repository of resources for the distance learning systems of these agencies, which is used in educational institutions of the security and defense sector, as well as military authorities and individual military units. There is also a resource for video conferencing with the help of the software product Big Blue Button. The most used resources during the forced transition of our academy to online learning were platforms and programs of widespread use: Moodle, Zoom, Skype, Google Classroom, Google Meet, and others. So, the main advantages and disadvantages of distance learning platforms in law enforcement educational institutions in the pandemic, we can now distinguish. So, the main advantages are the ability to exchange resources between educational institutions, which will certainly improve the quality of training and increase the motivation of students through the use of new teaching methods and active cognitive activity of students. Free access to large amounts of information, which is especially important for users remote from educational institutions. Promoting the unification of pedagogical communities of universities, teachers through communication between all participants of educational establishments. Profitability, if you take into account the cost of time, effort, transportation costs, and living expenses during training, it becomes clear that distance learning allow you to significantly reduce them to ensure the implementation of various courses. And the virtual conditions of training of cadets are sufficiently close to stationary. I mean, personal orientation in distance learning, activation of cadets' desire to self-education. Among the disadvantages of distance learning platforms in higher law enforcement institutions in the context of coronavirus infections are the following. The need for sustainable motivation and self-discipline as a result of, because distance learning directly depends on the independence and consciousness of the student. Next one, it is necessary to maintain the appropriate pace of distance learning, which without proper control is not possible for everyone. The next one, there is a problem of identifying cadets and checking whether they independently pass the appropriate control measures, I mean exams, differentiated tests, etc. Ensuring proper video surveillance, which is not always effective and possible in the conditions of distance learning. So cadets should come for the final certification to the universities and academies. So that's all. Thank you for your attention. I'm ready to answer your questions.